All right, today we are starting part 2, 4-1, and we're going to be solving for a missing side. Today's date is today, and our objective is we're going to use trig ratios to solve for a missing side. All right, so here's our first example. I know it says example 3, it's example 1. We want to find the value of x, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So you probably want to have a calculator out in front of you, and make sure the mode of your calculator is in degrees. The mode will be marked mode, and it's usually on the top row of a calculator, and usually have a choice of either degrees or radians. We haven't talked about radians yet, but make sure the mode is in degrees. So if I look at this triangle, it's a right triangle, so I know I can use my trig ratios. And I'm going to ask myself, well, what am I given? I'm given an angle right here. And I know that that angle is 35 degrees. I know the hypotenuse. Well, and then x is what I'm looking for. Well, it helps make up that angle that's 35 degrees, so that's cosine. That's going to be cosine. It's the sign that's adjacent. If it were opposite, it would be down here, but it is adjacent. So let's see what that would look like. Because I know the adjacent and the hypotenuse, I'm going to go ahead and move that up a little so we can see the triangle at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and use that as my ratio. The cosine of 35 is going to equal x over 7. Because my theta is 35 degrees, my adjacent is x, and my hypotenuse is 7. I'm going to go ahead and solve for x, so I'm just going to multiply both sides by 7. And this is where the calculator comes in. You'll want to type in cosine 35 and then multiply by 7, and your calculator will give you 5.73. They told you to round to the nearest tenth, so your answer should be 5.7. That's not too bad, is it? Let's give you a chance to try one on your own. Hit pause. We're going to find the value of x, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So ask yourself, what do I know? Do I know adjacent, hypotenuse, or opposite? Figure out which trig ratio is going to be the best, sine, cosine, or tangent, and then set up an equation. Go for it. Again, you might want to hit pause. On that one, the answer is going to be 10.7. You're looking for the hypotenuse, and they give you the side opposite. So it would be 7 over x. It's not a well-drawn x. Equals sine of 41. I guess you could have also put the sine of 41 equals 7 over x. So I would have multiplied both sides by x and then divided by 7. Or I'm sorry, multiply both sides by x and divide by sine 41. So you're getting 7 divided by the sine of 41 degrees, and that'll give you 10.7. Let's do a word problem. A competitor in a hiking competition must climb up the inclined course as shown to reach the finish line. Determine the distance in feet that the competitor must hike to reach the finish line. And they tell you 1 mile is 5,280 feet. That's a heck of an incline. I don't think he's going to do it standing upright the whole time, but oh well, they didn't ask me. So they give us one of the dimensions. They give us an angle, and we are looking for the distance in feet that the competitor must hike. So they set the picture up for us. Let's kind of go ahead and enlarge that so we can take a better look at it. So we know that the tangent is opposite over adjacent, and that's what they're giving us. We're looking for that opposite, and they're giving us the adjacent. Well, I'm using the adjacent as 5,280 feet. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5,280. Type in tangent of 48, and I get 5,864. I'm not sure if I 100% agree with how this problem is written, because if you look at it, it's asking how much the hiker has to hike, and you can interpret that two different ways. Well, he has to hike up. The height is going to be 5,864, but the total distance he's actually going to be going is that hypotenuse. So you might ask yourself, how could I find that distance? And the answer would be the Pythagorean theorem. All right. Here's one for you guys to pause. Try your own. Ernie is walking along the course X as shown, and we want to find the distance he must walk. So again, ask yourself, what do I know? What do I need to know? The answer is going to be 569. Because we're looking for X, we have our angle theta. We have our hypotenuse, and X is going to be adjacent because it helps make up the angle. So it would be the cosine of 7 degrees equals 500, I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself, adjacent X over the hypotenuse, 574. All right, hope you enjoyed. Get ready for part 3 coming up.